Stalker 2 Update 2.0 has been available for several days. The roughly 100-meter A-life limitation seemingly hasn't increased, and distant activity can be incredibly slow. Yet many players believe the zone feels more alive after 2.0. Thanks to ShayTech's new tracking tool, we can finally observe NPCs beyond our immediate surroundings and see what happens when they leave the fully active world. A-life isn't fake, but it also isn't the enormous simulation some players imagine. It's a smaller background system designed to keep events running without everything waiting on skiff. And Update 2.0 appears to present it more clearly and naturally. Let's investigate exactly what A-Life does, what Update 2.0 improves, and why GSC can't simply increase that 100-meter bubble. A-Life operates in two different modes. Online A-Life simply means an NPC is close enough to become fully active. Nearby NPCs physically walk, talk, patrol, fight, take cover, loot bodies, and react to their surroundings. You can hear their conversations, warnings, and gunfire because the encounter is being fully simulated. When NPCs move beyond approximately 100 meters and disappear, that doesn't automatically mean they have despawned. They can transition into offline A-Life, where the game represents them through a simpler background simulation. They can still travel towards destinations, compete for locations, encounter other groups without every footstep and bullet being physically calculated. Plus, if you see a fight taking place, leave the 100-meter bubble and return, and A-Life will calculate the most likely outcome. You'll only see the mutant on the screen or human NPC when you quickly render back in. When I first used the tracker, one Stalker Phil decided to confront 4 hostiles, but he initially appeared to retreat. I watched from the outside the active area as Phil was defeated and completely looted. Plus, eventually it seems they will then fully despawn once looted and left for a while. Update 2.0's Loot the Fallen system worked without me being present. RIP Phil, although taking on 4 enemies probably never ended well. This looting system adds more depth than simply removing items. NPCs can take useful supplies and switch to a more powerful weapon they find. They cannot currently replace their visible armor. Their inventories can be cleared after death. Interesting to see offline A-Life from a great distance on the map. If you highlight a certain NPC, for example, I tracked one in the Red Forest, was all the way in the Lesser Zone. The War Lieutenant had been here for a long time. Remember, if you hear a firefight in the distance, you may need to get there quickly before the winners take everything worth carrying. You can test the online to offline transition yourself on PC, find an active battle, travel beyond the online radius, and watch the markers using ShayTech's tracker. Use the X set time speed command to accelerate the process, rendering in and out quickly and speeding up the A-Life process. When you return, you should find survivors, bodies, and potential evidence that the fallen have already been looted. But you'll notice this: if you travel to different areas, you'll see bodies just dropping on the floor if you're quick enough. I'll confirm soon when the tracking tool goes live for the public. With Shay, it's been busy. It's interesting to see how much A-Life can be tracked as you progress through certain areas. The more NPCs you come across, the more A-Life comes to life, as you can see with the map. Plus, you can really see which areas have been contested. As GSC mentioned, more points of interest, which from using the tool seems to be the case. ShayTech's tool adds 3 additional zoom levels to the PDA and displays individual NPCs as markers. Green represents friendly NPCs, white represents neutral NPCs, and red represents hostiles. There also seems to be orange, which also seems to be hostile. This lets us follow characters we cannot physically see and position ourselves where they should eventually arrive. It also reveals how slowly offline A-Life operates. Many distant NPCs barely move over short periods, and some regions contain surprisingly little travel activity, with guys just chilling in place. The zone isn't filled with hundreds of squads constantly crossing the entire map. The guide-style icon isn't an intentional design choice, it's an SDK limitation, and currently the best available method for displaying NPC positions. This version also cannot track mutants, though that could change in future updates. NPC inventories now create some interesting questions as well. NPCs can physically loot mutant parts, carry them, and trade them during your travels. This gives you the choice of buying that loot or taking it by force and potentially damaging your faction's reputation. I've also seen an NPC inventory containing mutant parts alongside an artifact from the GSC showcase. However, that doesn't prove the NPC personally entered an anomaly and collected it. The artifact may simply have been generated with their trading inventory, but I've messaged GSC to confirm NPCs don't appear to use detectors or physically collect visible artifacts while online. Whether anything deeper happens offline still needs confirmation from GSC, and hopefully I'll have an answer soon. If offline activity remains slow, which by the way you can clearly see with the tracking tool, why does update 2.0 feel more alive? Many players report fewer enemies obviously appearing beside them. Squads are instead being encountered at points of interest, traveling alongside roads or leaving settlements to begin patrols, and the tracker allows us to observe some of this ourselves, which for the most of the time is the case. In one test, I watched an NPC begin fighting mutants while friendly markers reacted and traveled towards him as backup. After he defeated the mutants, an NPC even commented on the encounter, saying how impressed he was that he took down 2 mutants on his own. That's exactly what AI should create, something that appears to develop naturally rather than being placed directly in front of Skiff. But seeing the NPCs reacting to gunfire from a distance is so good to see. Players have reported similar moments. One discovered friendly stalkers camping beside a dog they had apparently taken out before the player arrived. Another had an early mission interrupted when a second group of bandits seemingly heard the fighting and joined the battle. However, experiences remain inconsistent. Some players still report enemies appearing extremely close, mainly on older saves. Plus, players have noticed that more NPCs are messing up and falling into anomaly traps, as showed in the 2.0 review, which is great to see, showing a more realistic world, showing NPCs making mistakes. Plus, if you wipe out a camp, NPCs now flee more. There are some issues. I've experienced with some NPCs just not registering that you are there. This might be due to the fast rendering in and out with no clipping command, or maybe issues with older save files. I'll be testing whether starting a complete fresh game produces a noticeable better A-Life experience in another video, comparing older versus newer saves, so keep an eye out for that. So why didn't GSC increase the bubble when binoculars were introduced? Because that radius reportedly controls more than when an NPC becomes visible. AI detection, combat behavior, weapon range, and the number of fully active characters may all be connected to it. Community experiments using larger radius mods have produced unintended behavior. NPCs can detect targets from unreasonable distances, remain stationary, or begin attacking enemies occupying completely different points of interest. Multiple distant encounters can activate simultaneously, potentially leaving piles of bodies in accessible areas. These reports aren't an official technical explanation, but they demonstrate why GSC may be unable to change a single number without disrupting several interconnected systems. A proper increase could require rebalancing detection, combat, spawning, and encounter behavior for longer distances. I still believe GSC may eventually increase the activity radius. One thing I wish they did is just come out with an explanation of why they could not increase the radius. But in time, maybe they will. But the engine updates and expansion are out the way now, and it's going to be interesting to see what they do next. Improving A-Life remains one of the biggest things players want to see next. Update 2.0 has created a limitless world where hundreds of NPCs continuously travel across the entire map. What has seemingly improved is how naturally its small simulation reaches the player through better patrols, more believable encounters, deeper looting, and fewer obvious close-range spawns. A-Life exists, and we can finally track it properly. The question now is whether it will continue evolving or whether this is as far as Update 2.0 can take it. Let me know what you think, subscribe for new tests coming later this week, and check out my previous Stalker 2 videos on screen now.